2, 1, and we're on.
Hey, Fit Pros, welcome back to the DTF podcast, Down to Fitness, where we turn personal trainers into fitness professionals. We are your hosts, Dayton McPherson and Kyle Radune. On today's episode, we will be talking about Programming 101, how to program for your clients. Are you ready for this one, Kyle?
Oh, I am stoked for this one. I think writing workouts, programming, to me is this like beautiful art and like the science of exercise selection. So I get really into trying to meet my clients where they're at, finding the perfect exercise for where they are today, how it's going to get them to the next thing, and programming around their goals. I think one of the biggest issues with programming is we don't necessarily always track. We don't always have a vision as to what today's workout is leading us into. They tend to be this, every workout has to be new, has to be flashy. We're trying to wow our clients with how much we know and how many cool exercises that are in our exercise library. Now,
exercise is not sexy. Let me just tell you that. It doesn't have to be sexy.
It doesn't have to be
very
sexy.
Simple.
And I don't know, this was a problem for decades. When CrossFit came out, one of their big methodologies, and if anyone's familiar with CrossFit, constantly varied functional movements across broad modalities or multiple intensities. I don't know. I forget the methodology. I'm not whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, it started off with constantly varied functional movements. Now, we like functional movements, and we do agree that constantly varied should provide a different stimulus from workout to workout. But what constantly varied, I think a lot of people think of as random, and random is the worst way to program exercises. So, before I go down into that rabbit hole, is there anything you wanted to kind of set the table with for that, or I could?
So I'm going to let Kyle take the lead on this one today, just because I don't train that many people anymore. Most of the individuals that I see on a weekly basis have been with me for 5 or 6 years. So I am very regimented in their programs. Like Mondays are our deadlift day. Tuesdays are this day. So I feel like I'm in a little bit different boat than maybe some people that are trying to get clients and get some new people. And Kyle loves programming. Who loves programming? Kyle loves programming.
I love me some programming. No,
all right.
Well, you said something just now that I think is actually pretty important, because when you're in your small studio space and you're seeing people frequently, you're working them out more likely the way a fitness professional would work out themselves. Now, in a big box gym where prices might be a little inflated, you're given 50% of that cut. So now all of a sudden, it's harder for a lot of people to train 4 or 5 times a week at $100 an hour. I get it. We're going to talk about building up value, because there's no such thing as too expensive or cost or all that. And we can say that till we're blue in the face. But the fact of the matter is, most clients are not going to be able to afford to see you every single day, 5-6 days.
No.
So in those situations, you are training people once to twice a week. So the lure here is, well, if I only see you once or twice a week, the right thing to do would be we're going to squat, we're going to deadlift, we're going to overhead press, we're going to bench press, we're going to row, we're going to do some pull-ups, we're going to do some, our major movements. And then the other days, you're on your own. Now, when I switch to a studio style where I can actually bring my rates low enough to let people train every day. I mean, I have an unlimited program that's over $1,000 a month, but you can come in every single day. It is not that much more expensive than the people that used to pay me $500 a month to come once or twice a week. And the fact of the matter is, in 3 to 6 months, I am learning that by having that much control, I am able to guarantee results with that frequency. I felt that years of being a personal trainer at that other model, I wasn't getting the results that people really needed. So, and I'm leading into this as a programming thing, because when I have that, I can design exactly what you need at the right frequency for you to get you the best results.
And what a great way to market yourself too. that you can guarantee results because of the price point that you've put up. I mean, working in a studio and doing it on your own, you're taking or getting all of that money, and you don't have to split it with anybody for the most part. So if you can guarantee results, your retention is probably a lot higher than big box gyms. Retention in big box gyms is anywhere between 3 and 6 months for clients. It's not anything crazy. So if you are in a smaller studio, your retention should be out of this world, because you can do that if you're good enough to and program for people. So that's kind of what we want to talk about, is how to program according to who's in front of you, how often that they see you, what's their intensity, where's their starting point. So before we start jumping into how to program, let's start talking about what the major movements of the body are. And there's 7 of them, if I remember correctly. 7, right, Kyle?
Yes, something like that.
I'm putting you on the spot because you did it last time to me. So what are the 7 movements of the human body?
Well, it's funny. I think I've answered this question to multiple people over the years, and sometimes I fall on 5, sometimes I fall on 7, and sometimes I fall on 9. I believe the 7, if we're going with 7, it's going to typically be a squat. So we're going to kind of a knee major movement where we're sitting down, standing back up, right? That's going to be our squat, both legs, bilateral. Yes. A hinge movement where they're predominantly moving at the hips. Yep. So that's going to be more like a deadlift. Then some kind of lunge. So with the lower body, I want to see some balance, some stability. Can't do everything bilaterally. So I'm going to categorize single leg, single arm type, right? Yep. Split stance. Then for the upper body, I want to have some kind of pull, whether that's a pull up or a row. I'm going to bring something away from me and pull it into my body. Yep. And then the opposing action to that, of course, is our pushes. You're going to push something away from you, push something up overhead, and put something on the shelf. Then what was that, 6? All right, we need one more.
No. You're at 5. We need 2 more.
We need 2 more. So let's take it from a full body, some kind of carry. We talk about core work. So you can think of like planks for core work, but when I think of plank or core work, I think about like heavy carries. Planks count in that, I think. Yeah. And then the last one, I think we have to do some kind of rotation. So our body moves basically in those 3 planes of motion. We rotate, we bend forward and sideways. So we need some kind of rotational movement for the core. And I think those are my 7 major categories.
There you go. You got them.
Yes. Squat. Give me a gold star.
Squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, carry, rotate. And I challenge anybody in the comments and listening to this to give us an exercise that doesn't fall into one of those or multiple. It doesn't matter what the exercise is. It will be in those categories, whether it's in one specifically or 3 of them all at once. That's it. That's it. Those are all the motions that your body does. So if we can program according to those things and hit all of those things in a workout or program, you're doing your due diligence to your clients. I have some people that work with me 1 time a week for 30 minutes. So our workout is literally just what we said. Some form of a squat, some form of a hinge, some form of a lunge, some form of a pull, push, carry, rotate. Do that 3 times, 3 sets of 10. See you later. Have a nice week. That's it.
Exactly. So actually, while we're on the topic of kind of frequency, I definitely want to touch on, the appropriate selection for the client. So meeting them where they're at. We'll talk about that in a second here. But because you brought up frequency, I think it's really important. Typically, as a trainer, you're probably not going to train someone more than 3 times a week. So I'm going to encourage full body programming for just about everyone. If you train Gen Pop, you should be doing full body anyways. And even like some of the bro split bodybuilder type people, I actually recommend a full body also. Because typically what happens with Gen Pop, and we'll stick with Gen Pop for this conversation, because of course, if you are a D1 football player athlete, my programming is going to look very different than if you are a world-class ice skater versus, whatever. So let's just take your Gen Pop strength and fat loss type stuff, right? Those people, if they come to the gym 3 times a week and they do a bro split, say, upper, lower, core or whatever, I don't even know. I haven't done a bro split in a long time. So
me neither.
Probably showing a little bit here. So Monday is chest day, International Chest Day. Everyone knows that. Everyone hits Monday no matter what. They never skip a day. Well, what happens come Friday? So they work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday, they have a bad week at work. They finally get out. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. It's Friday. They chose, I'm going to go for cocktails at happy hour and I'm going to skip my workout. Well, guess what? Maybe that's leg day. You just skipped your squat day. Now, when you came back to Monday and it's Monday, are you going to squat on Monday morning or are you going to hit chest again? You're going to hit
chest again
because it's International Chest Day. So now, after 52 weeks of this, you're more likely to have hit chest 52 times and legs 26 times.
You're going to look like Mr. Incredible.
Exactly.
You're going to have a jacked upper body and these little bitty legs.
So when we do full body, we no matter if you miss a day, it doesn't matter because you're going to have equal sets throughout the whole body. And then the last thing I'll talk about as far as full body goes, if you're going to do 10 sets of chest on Monday morning and you say you do a heavy flat bench, right? Everyone wants to do flat bench press. Then they do a dumbbell bench press. Then they do a dumbbell fly. And then maybe they do an incline dumbbell bench press. I'm 4 exercises in and I'm 10 to 12 sets in. Are you tired? Are you fatigued? Are you getting anything out of your chest and shoulders and your triceps by exercises 6, 7, and 8? No, of course not. You're burnt out. Your form sucks. And you're just building up endurance. You're not getting stronger. You're not doing anything. So why not hit your heavy bench, your heavy incline on Monday? And then on Wednesday, hit heavy flies and triceps. And then on Friday, hit another, front raise and whatever, incline fly or a cable fly or whatever you want to play with. Now I hit 6 to 8 chest exercises a week at full intensity. Which one is going to grow my chest faster?
Which one, Kyle?
The full body one. So all you bros out there that think you have to have a friggin' chest day to have a big chest, this is my point, is full body will trump the splits no matter what. You're always fresh. You recover faster. I mean, hell, anyone that's ever done a 10-set leg day with all the different exercises and you laid in bed for 3 days, what got more volume out of your legs? 1 day plus 3 days of sitting in bed, or 2 medium workouts and 2 days of walking around? Right. So that's my full body and frequency lecture.
Right. So if I can kind of dive in a little bit with the way that I work out. So I've been doing CrossFit for, I don't know, when's the first time that you took me to CrossFit?
Yeah, I brought you into CrossFit.
2019. Okay. Yeah. So my workouts are those random, whatever, here's what we're doing today. Here's what we're doing today. There's no chest day. There's no leg day, nothing like that. I'm very rarely sore to a point that I can't raise my arms overhead. Like I can feel it if I palpitate, but I'm probably more fit now. I feel better now than when I was 22 years old, when I was just heavy lifting, bench was Monday, deadlift was Tuesday, so on and so forth, and only working out 4 times a week. Now I can do 4 to 5. I feel good. I feel challenged. Cardiovascular is up. I look better and I feel better. So it works for me. I'm not saying that it works best for everybody, but that's the way that I would probably coach my clients too, is just full body. Try to get everything in on each day. But I will mention that it's not because I am not programming that we're just doing random things. Like there is a program to it and there's a reason why we're doing X, Y, and Z. And telling your clients why you're doing those things is very, very crucial to the process. So before the workout starts with my clients, go through your little pleasantries. How are you? How was your day? And then I say, today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3x5 deadlift. We're going to work up to X number of pounds. If we don't get there, that's fine. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days, but this is our goal. After that, we are going to do a circuit of this exercise, this exercise, this exercise. We're going to try to do it with a goal in mind. I want you to try to finish it within 15 minutes. And then our session will be over. Questions, comments, concerns? Nope. Sounds good to me. All right. Go through our warm up, go into the deadlift. When you do those exercises with them, if you've done that same sequence of deadlifting with them before, where it's a 3x5 or whatever that it might be, and they hit a new number for themselves, a PR or whatever that you want to call it, tell them that, hey, this is the most amount of weight that you have lifted for this number of reps. That was amazing. That's the best set you've ever done. Oh, it didn't feel that heavy. Okay, great. So the next time I have something to program for it. And do you know why I know that that's the most amount of weight that they've ever done? Because I write my workouts down. I'm going to pause and let that sink in for all those coaches out there that just do random things, because this gets me really pissed off.
Are you mean to tell me that preparing for your job makes you better at it?
It does.
Okay, just
So we talked about in previous episodes, and I'm going to get real fired up here. We talked about in previous episodes, if you are working 20 hours a week with clients, you're not just working 20 hours a week. That's closer to 30 or 40 hours. And some of that time needs to be dedicated to programming for your clients. And if you aren't programming for your clients and they're paying you upwards of $80, $90, $100 an hour, you are not helping them at all, and you are doing a disservice to you. And guess what? If you're just making random stuff up off the top of your head when you train your clients, not only are your coaches going to notice that work with you, but also your clients are going to notice as well. So all of my programming I do on my phone. All right. I've got their warm up down there. I know how many reps, how many weights. So the next time that they come in with me, let's say it's 2 days later. Oh my gosh, I was really sore from last time in my chest. Okay. I can look and say, here's what we did last time. Did you just feel sore in your muscles or sore in your joints? Well, my shoulder was a little bothering me. Okay. Maybe we went too heavy. I can adjust the number of reps, the weight, so that I know next time that we are doing a better job with making sure that they're getting results and not feeling like garbage at the same time. And if you're not writing your workouts down, shame on you.
Yes, shame on you, because how do you make someone better if you don't understand their volume? And I think this is something that trainers overlook in programming, is total volume. The reason why the average person plateaus is they have this workout that works really well for them. They get stronger, they lose body fat, they adapt, they become a better version of themselves using this program. Mm-hmm. What they don't realize is what they adapted to was the program. Now they are stuck there. If I do not increase the volume now 5 to 10%, I will not get 5 or 10% better. Right. So therefore, if I did, now when I say volume, just to be clear, sets times reps times weight. It's a lot of formula. It's a high number. Sometimes you'll get 4,000 pounds moved in a workout. Sometimes it's 40,000 pounds moved in a workout. That could look as something as simple as 10 sets of 10 at 100 pounds, or 5 sets, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is the total volume. So if, say, you did workouts where you moved 4,000 pounds of weight, you built up to a 200-pound squat. If your goal is a 300-pound squat and you didn't increase the volume 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, you will never grow to that next high PR number. Yep. So if you and your trainer are just winging it, today we're doing 5x5 at 100 pounds, and next week we're doing 8x3 at 100 pounds, and you realize the volume hasn't changed and you haven't progressed, this is why you and your clients are not progressing.
Right.
Period. Side note is you can't keep adding. So if you train them 30 minutes like your client, right, there is going to be a point where now, if you're good at your programming, after 3, 6, 9 months, you will have progressed your client and educated them through this process so much that now your 30-minute client just became a 60-minute client because you have moved them up into the place where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
If I have a little detour here on sales, if I wanted to improve my sales, I would start by looking at my 30-minute clients and my 1 time a week clients, trying to get them to 1 hour, 2 times, 3 times to bump up their frequency.
Yep.
How do I know when it's time to have those conversations if I don't know what their program looks like?
Right. You can't. You can be like, hey, you've plateaued. This is as much as we can do right now in this time.
So you need to either add another 30 minutes on another day, or we need to go for longer sessions. We need to increase volume. So educating your clients through this, but educating yourself, because I think most trainers don't understand this part.
They just get complacent in, oh, well, they just come and see me 1 time, 30 minutes. You should be having conversations over and over and over again about, hey, I know we're just doing 30 minutes right now. It's going to be more beneficial for you to do an hour or to do 2 half-an hours. You're basically at the point where coming in, we're just going through the motions. And you can be honest with people about that. I don't want to just go through the motions. Don't treat every single workout the same with everybody. So not only just making stuff up off the top of your head, but if you do the same workout with all of your clients and you have 8 hours of training, you're also doing a disservice to those people too. And trust me, I've seen it before. A coach writes down a workout in their head, and then they're going to be like, yep, this is what I'm going to do with everybody today. Just a big circuit. At that point, you're just teaching a freaking SGT class.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really thinking about how it's going to be beneficial. Yeah, did they get a good workout? Did they get a good sweat? Okay. Is somebody really paying you $100 an hour just to sweat, or do they want to get better? And if you aren't making them get better, you don't deserve that $100 an hour. Sorry.
Nope.
And maybe that's why you think that selling $100 an hour or $150 or even $200 an hour to people is, oh, they won't be able to afford it. Well, I'll be the first to tell you, if you're good at your job, they can afford it.
Couldn't have said it better. Nice job. So with all that, so we covered those two main categories. The other thing I think is important here is the exercise selection in the first place. So when I'm designing a program,
yep.
Because this we can kind of take it back to the beginning. Is you have a new client. Now you're going to do your assessment. You're going to take them through. For me, it's your 5 major movements. We talked about the 7 moves. I'll probably come up with an exercise that demonstrates each one of those. And we'll get into the assessment and consultation process more later.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm going to give them a progression or regression of all those things. So if we just start with the squat.
Yep.
Now, if you walk into me and you told me you're a former powerlifting athlete, okay, well, I'm going to start you out with a barbell back squat, maybe even have a little weight and kind of see what you're made of as far as your competition squat goes.
Sure.
Now, if you are Gen Pop, you're a 65-year-old man, 2 knee replacements, back injury. I know really nothing about this guy. I'm going to ask him to sit and stand up from his chair, right? What if I took him, and this is a drastic example, but what if I took him and I put the barbell on his back and said, here, let's find out if you can squat.
I don't even know what to say because I've seen it.
And I'm bringing this up not because any of us are really that stupid, but the truth is it happens out on the gym floor all the time because people want to train everybody like they train themselves.
Right.
All right. Now,
can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Yes.
So
please.
You had mentioned a couple episodes ago with your coach making you do something uncomfortable, like when you had a personal trainer. So I'm going to do that same thing with somebody and teach them a movement that they've never done before and make them feel super uncomfortable. And they can't hold the bar on their back when doing a barbell back squat. They can't drive their elbows back. They go to squat down. They feel it in their back. They can't stay on their heels. Well, you just made that person feel horrible about what they're doing. I'm going to share another story real quick. So I have a training client who I've been with for 6 years, trains 3 times a week for an hour. I've never barbell back squatted with her. She's strong as hell. Like she really is. Never barbell back squatted. I don't barbell back squat with anybody. I just don't. But she saw somebody in the gym the other day doing a barbell back squat. And she goes, can I try that? And I was like, we can try. I said, I'm not promising anything. I was like, but if you want to try, we can try. I put one of the training bars on there, 35 pounds. She got under it. She didn't put it on her neck. She was able to move her shoulders, and her squat with a barbell on her back looked freaking amazing. Amazing. And I've never done it with her, not once in her life, but because we've worked on all these other movements. Now, next week, am I going to program a barbell back squat into her program? Hell no. But at the same time,
I actually thought you were going to say yes.
No. If she's like, yeah, I really want to do that. But, I think that there are better movements for Gen Pop than a barbell back squat. Anytime that I always throw my back out, it's always on a barbell back squat. It's just me. I don't feel comfortable doing it. I'd rather have you do a goblet squat or lunges or a safety squat, something like that. But it just goes to show you that even if you're not doing the movement, the specific, we have to barbell back squat, people are still getting stronger. And though they might be able to do it, are you really working on trying to get them better, or is the risk over the reward? So, and that has to do with the person in front of you. I'm not telling all the coaches out there, never barbell back squat. You have to understand that we're in different industries and populations. Most of my clients that I see on a daily basis are upwards of 50, 60, and 70 years old. I have some that are in their 80s. Am I going to barbell back squat those people? Probably not. But can I get them stronger? Hells to the yes.
Hell yeah, you can. So this is where Dayton and I differ, right?
Kyle's going to put a bar on everybody's back.
I have one client that does not barbell back squat. He is 92 years old. He has so many collapsed vertebrae that he's so rounded that I would never put a barbell on his back. Okay, it's that simple. However, you mentioned it before, the goblet squats.
Yeah.
He's 92 years old. He can hold the 25-pound kettlebell at his chest and
Absolutely.
squat down, sit down, stand back up. But all of my clients put a barbell on their back.
Awesome.
Why? Because I built them up to that. You better believe that when they came to me, they didn't get a barbell on their back at all. Now, there are some moves. Typically, the barbell, I only introduce usually at deadlifts. I really love deadlifts. I think everyone can lift a barbell or at least a PVC pipe bilaterally in a deadlift. I don't care about the squat as much. So you're right about that.
Yeah.
But as far as like exercise selection for the person, that's where I wanted to go with here is that starting position is knowing the right place to be. And then the programming aspect of that is how can I make this harder, better, or what is my end goal? So now when we talk about the squat, now if your end goal is not to get them in a barbell back squat, and I'm not saying that it should be, but if I look at the back squat, what is the hardest end game version of a back squat is typically the barbell back squat, right?
Yep.
Now, I may not ever want my 92-year-old client to ever be able to put a barbell on his back, and we don't need to. But when I design my programming, I am still keeping in mind the things that go into making him better to maybe, and I put that in air quotes, maybe
at some point,
a barbell back squat.
Sure.
Why? Because in order to put a barbell on his back, that means I got his upper back stronger. I got his shoulder mobility better. I got him to have a nice tall posture in his 90s. Right. So hell yeah, I want to earn that. I want him to be able to get his hands behind his head. I want him to be able to sit down and stand back up with weight on his back.
Right.
That doesn't mean we're gonna, but I am still going to program the ability to do that.
Right.
So there's
maybe that's a better way to say than what I was saying. Like, I'm sure that a lot of my people could. I just want to do other things instead. And, you hear the whole thing, oh, it feels uncomfortable on my back. And it's like, yeah, like if you got a couple 100 pounds on there, it doesn't feel great. You got to build up those calluses. Or like if you heavy deadlift with people, you get these nice little like marks in there with your hands. Oh yeah, the nice little blood blister. So, could I? Sure. Do I always? Maybe not, but I probably could. You're probably right, Kyle. Yeah. So I want to talk about quickly our workout. So I'm going to give you a 60-minute workout that I would typically do with somebody, and then a 30-minute workout. And then I want you to share, just off the top of your head, you got somebody, and here's what you're going to do with them. So here's what my first step to writing a 60-minute workout is. I will write the major movement first. So if that's a squat, a deadlift, an overhead press, and determine for the next 4 to 6 weeks what we're going to accomplish. Am I going to just get your form better? Am I going to try to increase 5 or 10 pounds on something, whatever that it might be? And then I build off progressions from that. So let's take a deadlift, for example. We're going to start off with maybe just 3 sets of 10. We've never deadlifted before. For the most part, I'm going to do a kettlebell deadlift the first couple of weeks. Then we'll progress to probably a trap bar deadlift. Then I'm going to progress to a barbell RDL. Then I'm going to progress to just a straight bar, straight up off the ground deadlift. And that's my last progression. But I'm going to program that big movement first in whatever meso or macro cycle I'm in. After that, I'm going to program you can call it accessory work that we do after. Maybe you want to do a circuit or a WOD off of what we're trying to do. So if I'm going to deadlift with somebody, maybe their accessory work that we do after is going to be RDLs, lat pull downs, pull-ups, maybe some med ball slams to get them that hinge, maybe some rowings, just something that coincides to whatever that movement is. And I'm talking if I'm training somebody 2 or 3 times a week that I'll mention that I'll do it this way, not 1 time a week. Then the last thing that I'll do is write their warm-up. And I think that too often times people will write the warm-up and then that will decide what they're going to do for their workout. What's the most important thing with exercising? It's the squat, the lunge, the hinge, the push, the pull, the carry, the rotate. Write that stuff first, and then everything else comes after the fact. So the warm-up is dead last because though it's important, we don't want to hurt anybody. It's not the most important thing. The big movement is the most important. That's why those 3 movements are in every single powerlifting, USAPL is a squat, bench, dead. That's it. That's what I'm doing with all my clients. Squat, bench, dead. Everything else is just fluff. I can get you hella strong by doing just those 3 movements.
I would add I would take those 3 movements, and then the only accessories that I ever think I would need is hamstring curls and tricep press downs. And I can fix your shoulders and your knee pain in addition to your squat, dead, and bench press. And now all of a sudden I got those 5 exercises, the only thing you need.
Yeah.
But no, I want to go back to this warm-up thing because it's not in our notes. We didn't talk about warm-ups. I've never had this conversation with you, even outside of this podcast. And I've had people say to me how weird it was, but I write all of my workouts. And in my studio, I put the workout on the board for them. So I can actually walk up to the whiteboard and say, hey,
cool.
And I set the expectation. Today, we're going to do this. Yep. And then afterwards, I say, and we're going to get into the warm-up. And I always have the warm-up at the bottom. And every one of my clients is like, we're finishing with a warm-up.
No.
I go, no. I don't
wrote it last.
I don't pre-program the warm-up because I want to make sure that we're going to prepare for the exercises that are in our program for today. Right. And I'm pairing it up with how you feel. Because if we squatted on Monday and now you come in on Wednesday and your hips are wrecked because we did an extra set or we hit a new PR, or we did something a little more than normal and we're not in that same spot. Well, now I want to make sure I warm up the areas that are very specific to you. But no, I look at the program, I go, knee, shoulder, knee. Okay, got a lot of knee stuff today. We're going to work on quads, hamstrings, adduction, external rotation. I'm going to do more, like if it's a deadlift day, what are the number one things that, most of your clients need help with? They can't feel their glutes. They have weak hamstrings. They're quad dominant because they sit all day or they took spin class yesterday or whatever the hell it is. Before I go into my deadlifts, we're going to do hamstring curls. We're going to do banded monster walks or external rotations or clamshells or glute bridges or hip thrusts or whatever that is to warm up the area so that when you go do your deadlift, you're going to feel it.
Right? I mean, it totally makes sense though.
And by the way, warm up means not raise body temperature so you can sweat.
No.
To me, warm up, and I actually stopped using the term warm up. I actually call it priming. I prime muscles, just like you prime your lawnmower when you push the button in before you pull it. And everyone's like, I have an electric lawnmower. But back in the day, you had to push the carburetor first. You had to prime it up and then go. I think of the same thing with muscles. You sit on your ass in an office job all day long. I want to pump some blood into those glutes so you can squeeze your ass on a deadlift. Why does your back hurt? Because you didn't prime your glutes. You went on the treadmill for 5 minutes and sweat. Your glutes aren't warmed up. Your quads and calves are.
Yep.
Stupid.
I agree with you, man.
And I'm talking to trainers because if you're Gen Pop and you catch this episode, I'm sorry. You didn't know better, but your coaches should have.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Okay. So let's also talk about...
So I got real angry there.
Yeah. No, but that's a good thing. I mean, because we care and we want people to understand that we care. I also want to mention with coaches and training their clients, you do not train your clients the same way that you train yourself. It's never going to work. It's never going to make sense to them. They do not understand, like, if Kyle, if you're going to do a barbell back squat, would you have every single person do a barbell back squat their first session in with you? Hell no. I was like, yeah, you can build that up to them. Right. But you can have ideologies of everybody should squat, but the modalities may be different, but the consistency is the same. All of my clients will know how to squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press. Every single one of them. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what the modality is, but you will learn those 4 major movements because I believe that those are the most important movements for daily active living. So you're all going to learn how to do that. But one person may have a kettlebell, one person may have a barbell, one person may have, a PVC pipe, which you mentioned, but you're all going to learn the joint movement. Maybe the modality is different though. Even though I may never do a kettlebell deadlift. That's what you're working on though. And maybe we build up to a barbell. Maybe we never do. It's totally up to the person. And coaches, you got to understand those regressions and progressions. That's the most important thing about this episode is that everybody is different. You can't treat everyone the same.
No. And meeting them where they're at. The number one way trainers go wrong in their sessions is having a client continuously fail at something. So I want to be, a little more clear when I say this, because your job is to teach them new things and have them feel successful. If you choose an exercise that they'll never learn that day and you spend the whole training session having them try and fail, they're going to leave there thinking they're failures. You need to build up wins along the training session before you try something that is going to have them feel like a challenge. So in the early sessions,
that's
I do
great.
have something.
I love that, by the way. You need to build up wins.
That's
amazing.
Have them have a beautiful, they like to deadlift. Maybe they have some really good deadlifts, and you blow smoke up them and say, hey, now you're so good at this. We're going to try this single leg deadlift, or we're going to try this. We're no weight, and you're going to work on it. And then maybe it's at the end of their session. They do 1 or 2 sets. They wobble a little bit. They fall over, and you go, hey, nice job today. You were really tired from hitting your max deadlift, set a PR. We'll get a little better balance next time. So now I've built up the wins. Right. Now they have something to look forward to in a progression that now when they on their own time too, at home in the living room, they're going to do like single leg toe touches, because they're like, every time I bent over on one leg, I fell over. Then when I train them for another 6-week cycle, they set up another PR, and now I'm going to revisit whatever we were working on.
Yeah.
And then they get it.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, I have built up wins. I've probably built up my next renewal for my next month of worth of training, because now I've opened up a whole nother category of exercises that they're starting to experience leading in. Now, right, I've progressed that. They've felt like they've had wins. They are loving everything about it. And the reason why we have to incorporate wins in our training sessions, this is very important, because when they don't see the weight loss on the scale, they will fire you. The way you get to keep them. I know you didn't necessarily see the scale loss that you wanted. However, you did tell me that you had better energy. You were sleeping better. You learned all these new exercises. Your deadlift went up by 50 pounds. You used to not be able to touch your toes. We got better at 8 different things. And now they see these wins along the way, and they're less likely to fire you over the dumb shit that you never wanted them to pay attention to anyways.
And those little wins come from keeping it simple, right? So when I do a consultation, or if I work with somebody for the very first time, I know exactly what every single one of those workouts is going to look like. Number 1, I do a sit to stand. Number 2, we do a band row. Number 3, we do some sort of trunk rotation. So I'm just using all of the 7 basic movements, and we're going to try those. I never have anybody lunge on their first one, but if I can keep it simple and have you get one of those wins, which Kyle said that I've never heard you say that before. I mean, that's awesome. Getting those small wins day in and day out. How many wins can we build you up to until you're a champion? I don't know. I just came up with that.
That's it. You're the winner now, right?
Right. Exactly. And you win by losing weight and gaining strength and doing all of these movements that you've never done before. And we talk about small victories or small wins. If you've ever played an instrument before, if you've ever played a sport, learned how to cook, like I give this example quite frequently. If anybody knows who Eddie Van Halen is, you didn't learn how to play Eruption the first time that you picked up a guitar. You learned what the guitar felt like in your hands. You learned what a pick was. You learned what the strings were. You learned how to go through your fingering techniques, how to tune it. Then you start learning chords. Then you start going through and learning maybe a little bit of music theory. And you're not just going to pick up the guitar and go through and riff off the greatest solo that you've ever seen before, because that's the championship. Let's start off with those small little victories and wins through our programming, making sure that we're doing those big movements with everybody that they feel successful at, and they keep coming back to you, and your retention is going to increase, like Kyle had mentioned.
All right. So I actually know we had some other topics that I wanted to touch on for programming.
Sure. Yeah.
But look we actually went a lot deeper into some of the basics. So this episode is 101, and I'm going to end it here because I'm going to leave us an opportunity for 102.
102, let's go.
Because exercise order, starting off your workouts, accessories, programming those like non-compound movements, the muscles you're missing out on. You can squat, but if you don't know how to train adduction, you're going to end up with knee and hip pain. how can we program our 7 movements properly and keep our clients getting results and keeping them out of pain, because we actually know there's a whole lot more to just programming those 7 main movements.
You know what would be really fun in the future is if you and I sent you a mock person. Okay. You sent me a mock person and you said, program a 6-week cycle for them. And then we kind of review it on here and see what would be beneficial, what we would change as fit pros, because Kyle and I are very different. I may program something differently. That could be really fun to do, just so people can actually see how we program rather than just talking about theory and stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be super in depth, but we could just do something fun where it's like, this is how I would program for them. You know, we could have a little whiteboard behind us or whatever the hell we want to do.
Oh, but, I love it.
Oh, I know. Like,
I love it. I'm already getting jazzed up.
I would even say do it on the fly. Like, don't do it recording. Like, just come up and be like, okay, this person, she's 35 years old. She's got degenerative disc disease. She's got a right knee issue. She's got this, she's got that. Here are her goals. How would you program her first 3 weeks for her?
All right. So I love that so much. So if you're listening to this and you made it all the way into the 40th minute, we really appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And if you have a client that you want us to program, I want you to send me their details, their injury, their exercise history, things like that. And we will program a 6-week cycle on the show for their goals and their injuries.
Ooh. Just make sure it's okay with that client, though. We don't want to do any sort of HIPAA violation.
Well, no, with client X.
Okay. Client
or
X.
I mean, if they want us to share their name and information, then sure, we can shout them out. But otherwise, I would just go client A.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm cool with that. That sounds really fun, man.
So listeners, trainers, go find that client that you want to use, and we'll help you out. With that said, this is the DTF Down to Fitness podcast. I'm Kyle Radune. That's Dayton McPherson. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.